So the question is, what is timing displacement and what is positional displacement curses? To be able to answer that, I need to first discuss the first fall, which is the first biting of the fruit of knowledge, knowing good and evil, and that would be Lucifer's biting of it. And it came from a question, an inquiry: is God's love good? Like, am I being designed to love this man, or not man, sorry, love this entity by choice, or am I being programmed? In other words, a sort of manipulation, a force to love, right? And all the people, all the surrounding angels, are they also by choice choosing to serve and be together, or are they being designed, pre-programmed, forced, manipulated into doing this? So that was the original inquiry: is God's love good? And in order to really understand this and answer this question, the ability to know good and evil has to be awakened. And so Lucifer bit, and when he bit, he discovered good and evil. He saw good and bad wills in all actions. And what he was able to see initially was his doubt in God's goodness as a shadow. And what he saw with God was that his love is pure and that it was a choice. And so the first experience of shame was in the presence of the awakening of the shadow, the conscious awareness of the shadow. Shame came from the conscious awareness of the shadow within. So Lucifer discovered that his doubt in God's goodness is actually a shadow, bad will. And then he felt like he felt not good enough, didn't feel like he belonged to the family of heaven, of God, in spite of the fact that he had the most gifts comparatively with compared with the angels. Mm. And so time passed, and things started being like Lucifer started, you know, I don't know. I actually don't know. But what I do know is that there was a garden, and Lucifer turned himself into a snake. Eve was in the garden. She was in a tree somewhere, and snakes can go on trees, and I don't know. So it was just, he showed up in carnal form so that he could better communicate with Eve. And from the shadow's perspective, we could see it as, oh, that's the ideal place to deceive. Under the shades of a tree, where the apple is, the forbidden fruit at the time. It's not forbidden. It was just, don't do it. Like, it's there, but don't do it. But that apple represented the ability to see evil, right? To see good and evil, sorry, to see good and evil. And so the tree was where the snake was perched in at a time when Eve was passing through. And it just that happens to be like the most optimal place and time to have this conversation where the apple is also accessible. So that's my theory on why a snake and not a bird. I don't know. So let's see. So when the snake tempted Eve, Lucifer thought that the temptation was for you will surely not die. Because again, the shadow is, I doubt God's goodness. That's Lucifer's shadow, right? And he still has it. It's within him. Just like our shadows will always be with us, regardless of whether we've created an antichrist or not. It's still there. It's like it's just there. Um, so when Lucifer tempted Eve, he said, "For on the day you bite of the fruit, you will surely not die." And something like, "You will be like God." And let me just pull up the scripture real quick, because I don't want to butcher this part. Thing is Genesis 3:5. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. And then the one that follows that is Genesis 3:4 says, "But the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die." So okay, so there's two verses here. First is you will surely not die, or you will not surely die. And the second one is, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil, right? So in there's a truth, in there's a lie, but it's not where you think it is. Lucifer thought that the lie was, you will surely not die, because Lucifer knew that because God said you will surely die, right? So there's that. But Eve loved, like, she was created by God, and she had a more intimate relationship in terms of her faith in God's goodness. So in her spirit, in her conscious state of creation, she did not have the shadow of, I doubt God's goodness. In fact, it was exactly the opposite of Lucifer's uh, shadow. For her, it was God's always good, no matter what. So, contrary to popular opinion among Christians, Eve didn't bite because she lusted for God's power. She bit because she was there to show the serpent that she will surely not die. So that's her faith in action, as opposed to Lucifer's doubt in God's goodness. So she bit in faith. So where the lie was is, you will be like God. You will be like God. Meaning, before she bit, she was already like God. After she bit, she was not like God. She was not like God. Okay. So that is called a timing displacement. It displaced the timing of when she was like God. She was like God before she bit, because she had faith, 100% faith in God's goodness and who she is in relationship to that goodness. She knew she was already worthy, she was already good, and she was already in alignment with God's will, which is the state of being as is now, in the moment, solid. All right. So it's like the temptation is saying, if you bite from this, you will be like something, when the reality is, before you bit the thing, you were already like this. Okay. To put in context, you go to, let's say you have perfect eyesight. All right. And then you go to a doctor, and the doctor tells you, you need this medicine to get perfect eyesight. And then you go in, you take this medicine that the doctor gave you, and you no longer, after taking the pill, you no longer have 20/20 vision. In fact, you have astigmatism. and you need to wear glasses after that. Like that's what happened, right? She was already in the state of uh conscious um love and awareness of love. She was already seeing good, and she was already being good. And so having this fruit to open her eyes to see evil will only distract her from good. So she'll only, she'll be able to focus on evil, and that kind of like becomes its own opening to things that are not loving when acted upon. So, seeing evil isn't bad, but seeing evil and then being overwhelmed by it and then acting on the action of seeing evil through like judging it or trying to like fix it actually creates more of that thing. So it's like whatever you focus on grows. So basically she was able to see good and evil without the fortitude of good, meaning good refined, like the completion of good, the completion of love. She didn't have that yet. She was still like a baby creation. So a timing displacement is really for us, like how does this relate to us? Well, a lot of times we equate our worth with works. Like, oh, I am worthy only if I get this thing done, if I get this graduation certificate, if I make X amount of money, if I get into this relationship, if I get married, if I'm only worthy if I can finish this project and get an A. There's a lot of you will be like God displacement mindset, like if you do this, then you'll be okay. When in reality, she was already good. Her worth was already solid without having to earn or deserve. And today, among a lot of faith-based congregations, and even in the Bible, it says, grace is not something you earn or deserve. It is something gifted to you, and you just need to receive it, accept it. And so it's accepting yourself in the here and now as is and being okay with it, because that's exactly where you're supposed to be right now. Yeah. So a timing displacement is something to do with worth and works that has a here and now versus later or will. It's thinking that down the line, I will be okay. I will be worthy. When in reality, you are already worthy. You are already blessed and good and accepted in the family of heaven. You are already divine. You are already a divine being. So this feeling of this constant, like, I'm not good enough until I do this, until I do that, until I accomplish this, until I get there, until I have this picture perfect setting, that's our curse. That's our universal curse. And that came from it came from Eve's curse. When she bit from the fruit, she traded something she already had with something now she believes she no longer has. Okay. It's her belief that she no longer has. All right. So this is her perspective, just like we have our own perspectives. Like I could tell you over and over again till your ears bleed that you're already worthy. But unless you believe it, it's not gonna clear. So it's the same thing. Like, even after Eve bit, in God's perspective, she's already whole and blessed and good. But she didn't believe it. And that's her curse. A curse always affects the person carrying the curse. So this is Eve's curse, the timing displacement of her worth, her value, in context to works. And the anti-curse of that is she is already like God. That would be the anti-curse. Right? So she is not like God. She is like God. So yeah, it even says in the Bible, man is made in the image of God, in the image, likeness of God. We are already that. It doesn't say in the Bible, man is made in the image of God if blank, 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 right? No, there's nothing in there that says that. It just says man is made in the image of God, period. So how do we apply this now? We apply this now by knowing that the anti-curse is always available to us while we are contending with the curse. I'm not good enough until I blank. Wait a minute, I am good enough now, with or without blank. That's the anti-curse. But this is the universal curse we all contend with. We see it in our worldly affairs, right? We're constantly comparing ourselves to other people and what they've accomplished, what we didn't accomplish. And then we feel bad. We don't feel like we're worthy. We start hating ourselves secretly. This is our curse. This is the timing displacement curse. And then we have the positional displacement curse, which came from Adam's fall.